everybody, Don Nicastro, CMSWire Managing Editor, back with our consistent contributor. I love these guys who just stay in the conversation with CMSWire all the time, and he certainly has done that. Michael Mathias, CEO of WhereAware Digital Agency. What's going on, Michael?
Hey, having a blast this time of year. We're just talking a little bit off camera about the anxiety and the promise that the end of the year holds. So
Yeah,
we're right in the middle of it.
yeah. Do we cram everything in, or we just say, you know what, Q1 is my dog? How does that
Well,
work?
and trying to be responsive to our clients, it's less what we want to do. It's
Yeah,
more what we can do to serve them. And
same.
all the challenge.
Yep. So we're talking about data silos today in your latest article, so let's start with just the big picture. How do organizations identify and address these silos, even though that they sort of have them in the first place, with the goal being that seamless flow of information across different departments and enhancing overall customer experience, bottom line.
Yeah, it's interesting when I reread the article, which I know is coming out, in conjunction with this soon. The word seamless jumped out at me, and I I think one of the biggest fallacies or the fool's errand is to ever think it's actually going to be seamless.
Yeah.
And so when anyone that promises you some type of big seamless enterprise-wide transparency into all your data, I got to, it's never going to happen, because let's just pretend for 1 second it does happen. The next second, there'll be additional fragmentation of data and new sources and new ideas that are going to turn everything upside down again. So, I think that while I always recommend understanding where your data is and where you can start to combine it and get some traction points and do some rationalization, I think it's much more important to have a consistent plan that you just know you're never going to be finished, right? And it's always going to be a push. It's always going to be working on things. We've talked previously about this idea of people doing technology projects that have this gigantic buildup, and then there's this, yay, we did it, it's done, and now we launch it, and we can go work on something else. And I just think that's the kiss of death. And it has to be an iterative, ongoing commitment, or the moment you stop, it's like the moment you stop working out, you start getting out of shape. Like you just have to keep going and going and going.
Yeah. Are the vendors doing well in the sense of there's a lot of promises about the, CDPs and being that centerpiece of your data, right? Like is that promise coming to reality?
It with all of our partners and other future partners that we'd love to stay close with, I will say that it's closer than it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
That does not mean that it's here. Most companies in this space are finally being able to make good on the slideware that was produced 20 years ago. And even going back to the days of the invention, or at least the branding of one-to-one marketing from Peppers and Rogers, and back in the late, early 90s. They were fantastically ahead of the ideas of what we should be doing. We're just now barely being able to catch up to some of that, and everyone's been chasing that same thing. So I do believe that within platform, within instance, within activity, the data has gotten much, much better and much, much sharper. Once you bring that data out, or try to bring it out of a particular platform, whether you're browsing a website and whatever that data is going, the ability to be more user friendly and have a better experience and use the data that's there for good, not evil, to really enhance all that much, much, much better. The minute you try to say, how else can I influence that with other data, really a mixed bag. And you can find a bunch of data points and cases that say, look, it works right here when these two things come together, and that's true. But it's still not this ubiquitous all this data is going to magically be working together.
Yeah, man, my big gotcha in that comment, Michael, was that one-to-one marketing promise started in the early 90s when I was in high school chasing girls. That's crazy. I mean, when I was doing that, like, hey, 25 years later, you're going to be writing and editing about this, and they're still going to be trying to figure it out. That's a long haul.
Yeah, it is. I had the pleasure of meeting Peppers and Rogers several times in a variety of different circumstances. And so many times hearing what they would preach still rings true in my head today, saying, wouldn't it be great if we could get there? And we're closer than we've ever been. But it's just going back to my original comments, you just got to keep grinding.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one-to-one marketing worked in like the 50s, where you came in to buy like a business suit or something, and hey, Joe, how you doing? But that truly was only one customer. I mean, you're trying to scale one-to-one marketing now simultaneously with automation. It's a little different ball game, but they figured it out back in the day. I mean, they certainly knew one-to-one marketing. Hey, I want to talk.
It's the classic example of the corner grocer, right? You go down and the corner grocer knows that you've got 2 kids at home, and he throws in an extra half a pound hamburger because you bought a couple pork chops, and oh, don't forget the potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or my grocer, who in the deli, they figured out that I really don't care how thick or thin the ham is. I just want a slice, so I pretend to care. I'm like, that one looks a little, that's too thick. Try that works. But getting back, the topic at hand with data, I think one of the big things I've been interested in is the skill set of someone. We have to remember that we have to have people in the company doing this. It's not just the tools that will do it for you. So, like, in terms of like data literacy, technical skills, what kind of strategies do you suggest? I mean, like, do CMOs, are we at the point now where CMO school, if there ever was one, has to have a data class?
Well, that's a great example. I think the answer is emphatically yes. And at the same time, I don't think it's realistic for one person, one department, one anything to know everything about everything. And so much like the big words, strategy, analytics, things around data, it's such a gigantic subject, and there are so many different parts of that need to be pulled together and dissected. I think at the CMO level, you're hurting yourself and hurting your company if you don't have awareness of where you personally can lean in and where you need help, and where your strong spots are and where your weaknesses are, and then staff around that. The days of, it might go away because it's, new technology, going back to those Pepper Rogers days, those days are long gone. And, I don't see a lot of people running from it. What I see is a lot of people more paralyzed by it. I don't know what to do. And every day you don't do something is a day that then you're farther behind someone else taking a chance and decisioning and getting advice and doing something.
Yeah.
So I do think that there's a place to have a nice balance between how you build that up on staff and how you depend on outside partners, and they could come in a variety of shapes. I know for our business, where we tend to have the most success, which is a little counterintuitive, is the companies that have the strongest engagement, the strongest staffing around data analytics, some of the UX stuff. Frankly, they just know how to interface and use what we can bring to the table better. And I see that across, I go back through all my experience, whether it's more data or technology heavy or whatever those things are, where sometimes you think, gee, let's just take over the whole department and we'll just do all of that for our client. We'll run marketing. I don't think it's not sustainable long-term. And I think that a client that has their own intellect and opinions and intelligence around it is a much stronger client, and it can use any outside partner, individual consultant, large company, software business, whatever, much better.
Yeah. So finally, looking at like the big picture view from a chief customer officer or chief marketing officer, they think they have a data problem. You know, what's their first step, like, if you will, like what's step one in a customer data audit? I love the term audit. It scares everybody. It shapes everyone into place. Let's do an audit before someone else does an audit. And how do we start? Where do we think first?
Yeah, I really like to start with the business questions. And one of my favorite conversations to have is, someone says, "Oh yeah, we either do or we don't need data help, or we do we don't need analytic help, or we do need something." I said, "Great. If you don't think you need help, then you're in the 5% minority, and you're really ahead, and that's fantastic." And then to be a little bit provocative and poke a little bit, I say, "You know what? Would you mind showing me some of these things? Because if you're really on the forefront of it, it'd be great to see." And usually people then start to get a little bit nervous and say, "Well, how about just show me your attribution, or show me how you measure, or show me these things." And they start to get a little squirmy.
Mhm.
I say, "Okay, how about this? Can you just tell me how you think about your best customers?"
Hmm.
And if you're a consumer business, if you're a B2B business, a B2B business, it doesn't really matter. Just how do you think about what's your profile of your best customer? And something will get rattled off. And you say, "Great. How do you know that?" That's, "Well, what do you mean?"
They spend the most
"Oh,
money.
yeah. How do you know that?" And so they'll come up with some conversation, which might sound credible. And then the next question will be, "Well, does the rest of the company feel the same way? Is there agreement on the best customer?" "Well, not really sure." Like, "Well, wouldn't you like to be sure? And wouldn't you like to understand?" And that, to me, really gets to the root of everyone wants to grow, everyone wants to be more successful. And if you don't have basic alignment of what you're trying to attain, what you're trying to achieve, what you're trying to chase, and frankly, it could be wrong, but at least if it's consistently wrong, that's better than it being completely, "I don't really know." And, our acquisition team is chasing something that they, might do a great job acquiring, but they do a terrible job retaining,
Yeah.
or their cost of acquisition is too large, et cetera, et cetera. How do you know? And that's the conversation I'll start with the audit.
Yeah. That's a story we need to do. Like, you and I need to get offline and talk about that, because you're giving me a great idea for an article for CMSWire that, like, I would write. Who's your best customer and why? Like, what are the guideline, what are the qualifications of your best customer? I mean, cost could be one. They spend the most money with us. I think that's what most salespeople would say. That's my best customer. We get $1 million each quarter. But there's got to be more to it, and that can kind of be like it gives you insights and information where you say, "Oh, maybe they're not our best customer. Maybe we need to dig in and find out who really is our best customer and why." That's
Right.
great. That's a great idea.
Does that actually match what the company's trying to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, your high spending customers might not be the ones that actually you want for the long term, or are you trying to, are you just focused on the short term because of whatever your product strategy is?
Yeah.
All those things are very situational.
Yeah. I love that topic. Michael Mathias, CEO of WearAware Digital Agency, and more importantly, CMSWire Contributor. That's the title that people know you for. Forget the WearAware stuff, the stuff that
Exactly.
pays the bills. But no, thank you so much, for being a part of the CMSWire Contributor community, and looking forward to more discussions like this. And hey, Dom Nicastro will be penning an article soon, because we're definitely talking about that. I will
Love
hit
it.
you up, no
Love
question
it.
about it. Thanks, Michael.
Always a
Have a good
pleasure.
one.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye-bye.
now.